Good morning, everyone. We'll give it till that 9 o'clock hour to get started completely, but welcome to the webinar. Thank you all again for joining. We'll give it just a minute till it hits that 9 o'clock hour to start. Welcome, everyone. Again, we're just going to give it until exactly 9 o'clock to get started. But thank you again for joining today's webinar. Okay, I'm showing 9 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Laura Straub. I work at End Credit Union in our community education department. I do have a background in finance as well as education, so I'm very happy to be here talking to you all today about money on the mind. So why we make decisions the way we do, especially when it comes to finances. So we'll dive into quite a bit throughout today's session. So thanks again for joining. Again, it's money on the mind. Let's get started. So today's session, what I really hope you'll get from today is those money scripts. And at the end of the webinar, I'll actually have a QR code for you all to do money scripts so you can see which one you fall under. And then we have cognitive biases. So what is causing us to behave and think the way we are when it comes to finances? And then we'll talk through some solution-focused actions that will help us make better financial decisions, even while combating some of these biases that we may have. So we have quite a bit to get through today. So let's dive into those money scripts. What are they? How many we have, etc. So we have 4 of them. So the first one is money avoidance. With this script, it's centered around the belief that money is dirty or evil, and it makes people greedy. Often with money avoidance, you tend to put off opening bills or engaging in any sort of finances. And you kind of have that belief that like you may not deserve money, or that rich people are greedy. For this money avoidance, a way to kind of combat that tendency is to create an accountability. So creating some financial goals or an accountability partner where you can talk a little bit more freely about finances and not feel bad about it. But then also including values in your budget. So making sure that you have in there the things that you actually want to accomplish and things that you value yourself, because then you're more likely to kind of look at your finances because it helps you accomplish the things that you want. And then we have money status. So in this script, it equates self-worth with net worth. So this one is definitely associated with that keeping up with the Joneses kind of personality. And it's that belief that success is having a lot, or that you only buy the best. So with this one, you may overindulge to the point where you might go into debt to kind of keep up that appearance. So with this one, really making sure that you're actually budgeting for things. You're kind of assessing if it's a need or a want a little bit more. And then trying to stop making comparisons because that's where it really kind of comes to play. Another one is money focus. So this is where it's also known as money worship. So you're centered on the belief that more money equals happiness, equals success, and everything will be better with more money. And it can also come with like money as power or freedom. So with this one, again, just making sure that you're focusing on the things that you actually want in life, not necessarily just the money. So you might kind of see just the money there and not what it's doing for you. So just kind of taking a moment to kind of reflect on that can really help you in this money focus world. Another one is money vigilance. So this is our 4th one. So with money vigilance, you're concerned about financial health. You have a really high savings account, And you may not spend money on yourself. Like you just save, 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 which isn't necessarily bad. Um, and you may involve some financial secrecy or fear of not having enough, though. So this one could be, I know my financial situation, or that you don't tell others what you make, or you might have like a secret savings account that your spouse doesn't know about. And with this one, it's really important to focus on those values. So again, recognizing that, like, hey, if you love art, making sure that you put in your budget time to go to like an art museum or a play or theater, right? So you're actually kind of spending your hard-earned money on things that you actually value, can kind of help you when it comes to this script. Now, again, at the end of class, I will have a QR code for you all to take a quiz to see which one of these four you kind of fall into, or a combination of a couple of them. So in some situations, you might be more money vigilance versus money avoidance. So you can have multiple scripts. Now let's talk through some of our biasness when it comes to spending and finances. So our financial flashpoints are early in life. They can be negative or positive. It could be your first money memory. So maybe it was like your first paycheck you got, or opening up your first bank account. Um, and with these, it's really important to stress on like what it's maybe impacting. So if you always saw like your parents couponing or stressing about money, you might kind of fall in that same realm of kind of always couponing or having the same behaviors. So with these financial flashpoints, it's important to kind of recognize those emotions that you're having so you can allow that mindset change to change those. So other ones could be, getting your first credit card and not really understanding it and maybe kind of falling into debt with it. So again, they can be positive or negative when it comes to our flashpoints, but they kind of influence some of our financial behaviors that we're having into adulthood. And oftentimes it leads to these cognitive biases, so some shortcuts to our thinking. And it can make us it can happen whether we know it or not. So they're subconscious or conscious, but they're playing into our memories, our experiences, on how we're acting. So we're going to talk through some of these biases that may be causing us to make financial decisions in ways that are not always the way that we actually want them to happen. It's just kind of how it happened for us. So the first one is called anchoring. So with an anchoring bias, it's our tendency to kind of latch onto the first info that we have. Now, sales folks are really good at this. So sales will often use anchoring to make us believe it's a deal because we saw the higher price. So they might have inflated the price for us and then gave us a discount. So we're anchoring on like, oh, hey, like it was, $10,000, but they're giving us a 10% discount, or whatever the case may be. But we're anchoring our decision based on that first piece of information that we were given. So with this one, it's important to kind of recognize again that full picture. So is it actually a deal? Where are the prices where they should have been originally, or are they kind of lowering them based on, they're not selling, right? So they're decreasing it. Do we actually need this item? So sometimes because it's on sale, it's tricking our brains into being like, oh, hey, ketchup is now like 2 for $7. Like I should buy these, even though we have some in our pantry. So it really can be used in negative or positive ways for us when it comes to anchoring. So making sure we're doing the research, looking at that whole picture of our finances to decide if it's something that we actually need or want, and that we have the budget for it. Now the next one is availability. Oopsie, oh my gosh. No, what happened? So sorry. Goodness, sorry, y'all. Is availability and recency. So with this one, it's We're favoring info that's easy for us to access. So recent news articles, maybe scrolling through social media and seeing a post about it, or hearing a story from a coworker about their trip or about a product or service they got. And this can lead us to making decisions without that full picture in mind because we're only basing it off of that story or recent news we got. So to kind of help us with this is to make sure we're doing research and seeking out multiple resources. So we're not just looking at the Google reviews, we're looking at maybe, um, yeah, like what a person's experience was with it as well, right? That we know and trust. You can also just be researching more in depth with it. So if we have like a fear of cruise line ships because the news had a huge story about it, then like kind of redoing that research, refiguring it out can really help us make a better full picture when it comes to finances. Often with availability and recency too, again, it's that information that's easy to access for it. So it could have been from the past or news articles that we're getting that information from. So just making sure we're getting multiple points of information will help us. And then we have loss aversion and sunk cost. Now, this one with the loss aversion, we really dislike losing more than we win. And it's our preference to avoid or acknowledge that loss that's holding us to that maybe bad investment that's lost its value over time. And we see that and we know it, but we're refusing to acknowledge it and release that investment because then that would admit that like, hey, we made a mistake. So it can really kind of hold us back from letting go of investments or moving forward with our project because of that avoidance of losses. Now, sunk costs, again, we're refusing to let go of or stop something because we've already put so much time and money into it. And it's just a sinking ship at this point. So we need to recognize that, realize that, and release that emotional attachment we have with that project, with that investment, and just move forward and not dwell on the amount that we've already put into the project and focus more on, okay, instead of spending, $1,000 every month on this investment, I'm going to now use that $1,000 for this other financial product. So it's just kind of recognizing and moving forward when it comes to loss aversion and sunk costs. Now, mental accounting, this one can be positive or negative for us. And as we're categorizing money in our brains and we're weighing things differently. So if we get a tax return, we might weigh that money a little bit differently than we would a paycheck. And we're going to act differently with that money. So with this one, way we can kind of combat that is to refocus it into financial goals. So we have a goal to, take a really fancy trip when we turn a certain age, a dream home deposit, or whatever the case may be. So we have those financial goals that are in place. So that way, no matter what money we come in, whether it's a windfall, like a tax return or an inheritance or something, we are weighing it the same as like we would a paycheck in the sense that we're putting it toward those financial goals. So it can really kind of help us when it comes to that, as well as maybe making specific savings accounts or checking accounts for those financial goals can also just kind of take it a next level further when it comes to kind of categorizing our money that way. Now, status quo is another bias that we have where we really like things to stay the same. Humans, by nature, we really don't like change. So it can be really hard to accept that change. Ways that we can kind of help ourselves is really taking advantage of tools such as automation, auto enrolls, auto increases, especially when it comes to our savings account. So setting up an emergency fund and having that to lean back on. So that way we may not have to necessarily change our new normal. We can use our emergency fund to help us through a period of lost income. But this one can really affect folks, especially come retirement age or that like next stage of life. Just accepting a new normal when it comes to our finances can be really difficult. So just recognizing that, getting some help, or kind of putting some tools in place now, so that way it's less dramatic later can help us. Now let's walk through some solution-focused ways that we can kind of combat these biases, where we can kind of refocus, reshift some of those financial and cognitive biases that we're having. So ABC framework is a solution-focused action that comes from a cognitive behavioral theory. So with this one, it's the idea to acknowledge our actions, events, and thoughts that went into leading a financial decision and then question it. So, like, if we get a bill, um, maybe our belief is that if we don't open it, it'll go away. It's just it won't exist anymore. And then that consequence though could be late fees, collections, more financial stress for us. So it's really looking back at that first event, like, okay, we got that bill. What do we do next? Do we take care of it right away? Do we put it into like a plan of like on Fridays, every Friday I'll take care of bills, or whatever the case may be, whatever our triggers are. And we're really questioning and asking ourselves, what can challenge the process that we're in. Uh, and with this one, again, it's just really looking at that change piece. So what is the consequence? Are we okay with that consequence? If not, how can we change that acting event to be a better response for us in the future? Now, solution-focused habits is another way that we can kind of help ourselves. So it's realizing what our money biases are. So looking back at those financial flashpoints, maybe we view credit as icky. So kind of recognizing that and working on habits that will help us reach our goals. Or maybe it is like every time we get paid, we spend it right away. So like, how can we change that? And one way that works really well is try habit stacking. So with this one, we're starting, a new habit, but it's in conjunction with something we already do. So if we always have like family Friday dinners, maybe just including like financial Fridays, where we talk about our finances while we're having dinner. One that I do, that I've kind of incorporated is, tax season. So when I'm doing my taxes, I also look at my financial goals. I look at where I'm at. Did I meet my goals from last year? I pull my credit reports, things like that, because I'm already in the mindset of finances with doing taxes. So it's kind of just combining a habit together with a task that I already have to do. So it just kind of helps stay accountable. So it could be like that. Again, it's just keeping it simple so that way we're more likely to stick with it and attain it. And then I can't stress it enough, but the past is the past. So we need to stop dwelling on it. And we want to focus now on the future rather than again on the past. So acknowledging the past, but not putting blame or shame to it can really help us move forward and create habits in the future that will help us with our goals. So with that, again, our past can help influence the way we're handling money. So this is an exercise where you can simply you draw an egg on a piece of paper. Now, with this one, we're going to focus down at the bottom of that like egg shape. Some of our first early money memories. So it could be our first paycheck. It could be the first time we bought something. It could be something that happened to our family when we were young. It could also just then be later in the next tier, like stuff that's happened in our early teens or 20s and then 30s, etc., moving kind of up the egg. Now, while you're doing this exercise, you want to focus on what do we remember about these situations? What kind of caused these behaviors? What emotions did we feel? What do we still feel about those emotions? And then what did we learn from it? So if one of our first money memories was that credit card balance, maybe we did learn like, ooh, I can't be trusted with credit. I need to start budgeting for things more and using that as a launch point to help you instead of blaming yourself for that in the past, but using that as fuel to correct that behavior. So this exercise, again, you're just focusing on those early money memories and how they might have impacted us when it comes to making financial decisions now. And then we have a well done exercise. So with this one, we're envisioning an accomplishment. Okay. So we have a financial goal or just a goal in life. And we're envisioning ourselves saying, I did it. I accomplished XYZ goal. Um, and when we're doing that, we want to see who, what, and where helped us accomplish this goal. What steps did we take to accomplishing this goal? So if it's, hey, I want to save for a really fancy trip, I can envision myself, hey, I'm on this amazing, wonderful vacation. I'm with my family. I did this by saving, a very specific amount every month, every paycheck. I also budgeted. I didn't go out to eat as often as I normally do. These are the steps I did to save up for it, right? So you're really envisioning all of the steps in the process in place. What can help you too is looking to past goals that you've had. What helped you with those? Was it those step by step mini goals? Was it a particular person helping you stay accountable to it? And really seeing what you can do to, again, envision yourself accomplishing this goal. Now, the power of visualization is huge. We're more likely to do something if we can visualize it. It's what a lot of athletes do too. You'll see them, at the top of a run for a ski run, like envisioning every turn they're going to make. And it really truly can help you. So we're going to do this with our finances, though. So envision what those goals are for yourself and make a plan to stick to it. Now, if you're someone that maybe worries about money or has a lot of anxiety when it comes to money, this worst case scenario situation and an exercise can help. So with this one, it's really about that preparedness. So we are making a plan in place. We're gathering resources now. So then if something happens, we already have the tools here for us. So with this one, it's, like if, for instance, we really fear losing our job, really looking through this and asking ourselves these questions can help us get prepared. So that we might have less worry or anxiety about losing our job. So we know the resources in our community, such as like 211. We know we have X amount in our emergency fund to get us through for a while. We know we can rely on so and so. And it again just kind of helps us put a plan in place should the worst case happen. Okay, so it can just kind of help ease those anxieties when it comes to money. And then money scripts is another way that we can kind of help ourselves kind of rewrite how we're doing events. So the biggest one is figuring out what triggers us to be harmful with our money habits. So is it particular stores that really make us go over budget? Or is it people that we go shopping with? Or is it, an emotion that was happening? Whatever the case may be, we're kind of listing it out. Now, identifying, are there patterns to this? So do we overspend when we're feeling sad, or maybe we overspend when we're really happy? So kind of recognizing that and then finding alternatives to that can really help us. So if we are going shopping to make ourselves feel better, maybe an alternative would be going to the library because then we're we're still getting that satisfaction of bringing something home, but it's free, right? It's the library. So it's still kind of getting that little satisfaction for us, but it's changing our behaviors when it comes to finances because then we're not spending the money. Or it could be, doing a money journaling. So we're journaling about like why we're making these purchases. So we're kind of changing the emotion and the emotional response to buying something, or a financial decision that we made. So again, it's just kind of walking through like what happened, what went through our mind, and questioning ourselves of what's going on. Now, our money beliefs, really our environment, our identities, our values, and our experiences all play a huge role in how we're making our financial decisions, what cognitive biases we're falling for, what we're telling ourselves. So, using those solution focused actions, like the money egg or the well done exercise, can really help us change the way that we're seeing money. Now, I'm going to leave you on this next slide, the Klon's money scripts. So at the beginning of class, we talked about like those money avoidance, vigilance, etc. Those 4 scripts at the beginning. So if you would like to take that quiz, you can go ahead. I'm going to leave you some time here to do the QR code. And it'll just ask you some questions to then kind of decide where you're falling with those scripts, so you can kind of see again maybe what some of your biases might be. And again, you can be multiple scripts, so you can be 1 or 2, or fall between a few. And with that, we are at the end of the presentation, so I hope you learned a little bit about some of the biasness that it comes into play with our finances, how things are kind of working for us. Again, if you have questions, the Q&A should be open for the Q&A here with the Zoom, so you can let me know if you have any. I'll stick around, but otherwise, thank you all so much for attending today's webinar. I really appreciate it.